Hello, it is Devon Stormlord again, your, Lord Tuber. So, a few changes I'm gonna be making to this channel. The thing is, looks like StarCraft isn't a lore specific franchise, but people have probably more questions about Halo and Warhammer, and of course, fantasy as well. So what I'll be doing is for this channel, the first week of the month I'll be doing sort of a showcase, or rather not the showcase. It will be what is going to be happening in the month, as well as the maybe one fantasy or science fiction universe as a quick idea of it. The second week, I'm gonna be going and talking about Halo, and the third week Warhammer, and the fourth week there will be a different faction or science fiction universe coming. Um, Maybe it will still be StarCraft, but I'll see what is the most popular. I think it's probably gonna be something like Lord of the Rings or Age of. I mean, Warhammer is Age of Sigmar and Warhammer Fantasy. So if I were to go and do something else, it would be Lord of the Rings or something else. We'll see. We'll see. So specifically, this video is gonna be short as well. Instead of a whole 30 minutes, I think something that people will not like. So, Halo. And sorry about that huge talking into like 2 minutes. But anyways, now we're gonna be talking about Halo. So Halo, of course, is a franchise that is still ongoing. There's talk about Halo 6, or Halo Infinite rather, is coming out in 2021. And we'll see what happens in that story. I'm not going to be talking specifically about stuff that happens in games. In this video, I'm just going to be talking about the premise and how did this universe start, really. So, Halo is, of course, like StarCraft, and a military science fiction franchise or universe. And it was developed by 343 Industries and published by Xbox Game Studios. Now, of course, the early main installments were originally developed by Bungie, which, from, of course, games like Destiny, and like Destiny, some people like it, some people don't like it, but Halo is one of the most beloved games. It's usually called also by a different, also called the Xbox Killer app, because of how popular it was and how big success it was in the market. Anyways, so it central focus of this franchise is actually around a Spartan, which is a super soldier called Master Chief John 117. One of a group of super soldiers, and yeah, like I said, it was Spartans. Now, what is a Spartan? It is a human who is taken from a birth, or a young child. I think it's a young child. And they are actually taken from their parents and replaced with a flash copy, or rather a copy. And this child is then turned into a super soldier through time, through training, and these children usually are gifted in physical and mental capabilities. That's why they are chosen as well. And also accompanying Master Chief, as he's more commonly known, is his AI intelligence, or rather AI companion Cortana. Now, the original trilogy centers on interstellar war between humanity and a group of aliens known as the Covenant. Now, the Covenant is led by prophets, and or rather, to put it more simply, the Covenant is a group, a huge number of alien species, which started out with prophets and I think they are known as the elites. Let me make sure of that before I talk through my ass. Okay, yeah, the elites. Now, their real name, the prophets are actually the Sangsuim, and the elites are actually the Sanghaili, but they are called, for simpler terms, the prophets and elites. So they were at war in the beginning, and later they decided to make peace because of religion and became one group. And later on, they conquered lots of other different alien species, but the prophets were at the top and command, and their most prized and coveted race was the elites, because the elites was the biggest part of the covenant. Now, when also the other race what are very common in this universe is of course the humans from Earth. And in this universe, they had expanded to different planets. And when they came into contact with the Covenant saw them as this, in a sense, as heresy, as something that shouldn't exist. It's something that will endanger their religion. Now, I'm not going to go into reasons for that, but yeah. So it was for religious purposes as well as to stay in power. So they made the humans become an enemy in the eyes of the rest of the Covenant, and they attacked them and slowly but surely pushed them back into the universe, back to their own planets. They went to one planet and glassed it and killed all the humans on it, and so forth until there was not many planets left. So Earth, and another thing I should mention, the Covenant was highly advanced, way more advanced than the Spartans and humans. The Spartans was also was a very good thing against the Covenant, but there was not enough. I'll get to that point when I'm talking about the humans. So now we're gonna be talking about the humans. So the humans in the 26th century were part of the United Nations Space Command, short for long for UNSC. So, so most of this universe, okay, is seen through the eyes of the UNSC. It's not really seen through any other eye. The books, the games, the movies, it's most of them coming through the eyes of the Halo guys. Not Halo, the UNSC, the humans. The Halo, the title Halo comes from something else, which I'll talk about. So the UNSC, they had a huge amount of planets. And the reason why they made the Spartans was because they were starting to become rebellions, or rather, rebellion started to pop out on their planets, and they didn't want that. So what they did was actually go and make the Spartan warriors to go on secret and covert operations to go and, well, yes, take care of this rebellions. And as you know, they didn't need a lot of Spartans for this. And that's why there were not a lot of them. And it was actually more secret. Also, to note, how they actually traveled in this universe is through this space-time thing called, let me see, so it is through slip space. Now, humanity isn't very good at using slip space. So what they did is, for example, let's say they want to go to Mars, but instead of actually saying we're gonna be landing on Mars or being in the atmosphere, because they could as well end up in a planet or in a star if they are too near to it. So they'll uh, teleport to relatively near to it, but they'll not actually go and be in danger of ending up in uh, the planet. It was their way of moving faster than light. Now, the Covenant also used this, but they actually could control it. They could move as a whole fleet and be someplace else as a fleet, where the humans, if they moved from one place to another, they usually weren't in fleet formation. Or that's what I picked up from looking up this universe anyways. So talking further, so now we can talk about Halo itself, where the name comes from. So Halo comes from the rings. The Halo rings are basically very large constructs which was created by a race in the far past, known as the Forerunners. Now, the Forerunners was a very advanced race, and they basically decided they needed to protect the universe and stuff. And they created these rings, and something happened, and the Covenant, or rather the Forerunners, they disappeared. Now, the Covenant, or more specifically the Prophets, their belief is the Forerunners used technology to build machines to ascend to godhood. And they believe the Halo rings was used for this purpose. So they basically want to try and get the Halo rings into operation so that they can go and ascend to godhood. Now, there's one more race I should talk about. They are known as the Parasite by the Covenant, but in the games and more commonly they are known as the Flood. So, and the humans also call them a Flood. The Forerunners call them a Flood, so forth. They are basically a species of virulent parasitic organisms that thrive by consuming other sentient life or sufficient biomass. Or rather, of sufficient biomass, sorry. And basically, the Forerunners fought these guys thousands. I think it was, thousands of years previously. And yeah, I think that should be actually give you an idea of why this isn't good. I think, it looks like it was 100,000 years plus past when the Forerunners fought the Flood, and the Flood isn't dead, they're still here. They came out of a capsule and started reproducing again. Now, the quickest way of actually understanding what the Flood is, if you know Warhammer or StarCraft, it's basically the Zerg or the Tyranids and Orcs on Warhammer. To put it more specifically, the Flood is basically zombie, undead beings that can, when they basically infect somebody with a parasite. This guy, when he dies, the parasite comes out of him and takes over his body and becomes a new Flood. And the Flood kills people and becomes more and more and more. Imagine something like a slime, or imagine something that moves, and as it moves it absorbs stuff, and as it absorbs stuff it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. So that's what the Flood does. It takes plants, it takes animals, it takes anything of biomass and absorbs it. And after it has absorbed enough, it gets big intelligence, also known as the Gravemind. And the Gravemind can then control better to actually consume more, and then this can actually create biomass forms of their liking, akin to Tyranids with the spaceships. Yeah. So this is my quickened or shortened version of Halo. I have cut a lot. I've not explained it as much as StarCraft, but I think most people will like it more. And yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, mates. And please do subscribe, comment on this video, share this video with people, and, well, just look out for my next video. Hola. Bye bye.